Hi, everybody. Welcome, and thank you all so much for coming today and learning more about the Creative Community Pathway. I am Paige Sharp.
Hi, and I'm Anna Tragesser.
And we are excited to introduce you to the pathway, and we'll be sharing out this information far and wide in the coming weeks, and you can find more information on our website homepage. This webinar is being recorded, and be sure that you signed up for our newsletter so that you can stay up to date on what we're doing. Okay, so you are muted today, but please use the chat box and click on the speech bubble to ask questions throughout the call. We will be sure to take time at the end to answer those questions. But we also want to know who you are too. So please type your name and community that you're with in the chat box. Okay, and you can click on like the little chat bubble in order to put your name and community in there. Okay, so first let's start out with a little on the Indiana Arts Commission for those that are not familiar. We are a state agency. We are your state agency for the arts, and our mission is to positively impact the cultural, economic, and educational climate of Indiana by providing responsible leadership for and stewardship of artistic resources for all of our state's citizens and communities. So we're working under our strategic plan, and really what we're focusing on is to centralize the role of arts in communities. The arts, artists, arts participants, creative businesses, and arts and cultural organizations are an important part of a community's vitality. Our belief is when the arts engage their communities, they create authentic, relevant work. And when communities value creative work as relevant to their everyday lives, they engage in the arts. And when communities engage in the arts and arts thrive, and when the arts thrive in community and the community thrives, really, so does Indiana. So what does this look like in practice? We could look at any of our cultural districts, but since I'm from West Lafayette, Indiana, I want to look at the Tippecanoe County Cultural District, which is scaffolds both Lafayette and West Lafayette. So years ago, the community, it was certainly not the vibrant area that it is today. A group of really invested individuals who are spark plugs, really want to make stuff happen, put a sign in downtown Lafayette that said "Up with Downtown." And they started to bring the arts together. But really, the arts are a part of the solution. So they looked at the arts as a part of deepening the long-term goal of a thriving community economically, culturally, and community-wise. So the arts started to deepen and the community started to grow. And if you look at Lafayette today, people are coming into the downtown area. They're attending concerts. They see public art. The Tippecanoe Arts Federation has taken such a great lead role, and they've done Wabash Walls where you have international artists helping to revitalize a neighborhood. So the community really values this, and because there's great participation that has never been seen before. It just keeps growing over time. On a smaller scale or in an emerging community, we look at like Rushville, Indiana, where they started with a Wendell Willkie mural, which is an individual that's important to their history. And the community started getting excited and they wanted more. And the snowball effect turned into a community performance venue, some creative businesses. And when we see this kind of blossoming, we call this clustering. And it's those clusters that can grow into becoming a cultural district. But let's get focused back on the creative community pathway. So let's bring back Anna, because she's really the champion of all of this great work.
Oh my goodness, I actually feel really honored to get to learn alongside all of you. But I would love to hear about what is going on in your community these days in the arts. So go take a moment to type in the chat box right now. What's your community working on or planning in the arts lately? This is your chance to brag on it. So please enjoy this moment of silence while everyone's furiously typing, and then we're going to take a minute to celebrate. I know there's lots out there, so go ahead and throw it in the chat box. Yes, we have a new cultural center in the downtown area of Jasper, which is 60,000 square feet. Arts and library. Wayfinding going up in Terre Haute in the 4140 Arts and Cultural District. Fantastic. The Lilly Endowment has funded a significant Fort Bend Cultural Campus in Lawrence on the east side of Indianapolis community. Amazing new amphitheater and groundbreaking in Decatur County. Amazing. And some musical instruments for kids and fundraising for that. I love it. Please keep throwing those things into the chat box. We want to keep hearing about what you're doing. This is amazing work. You are all doing incredible things differently and for lots of different reasons. And that is the most beautiful thing about arts-based strategies and community development. And the most important thing really is that there's not just one destination, nor is there just one route to get there. We have been listening and hearing a lot about how local leaders, neighborhoods, and community organizations are using the arts in community planning. Sometimes I hear that your community, you've done a quality of life survey or something, and your community wants art. That's amazing. Or we see lots of great examples of murals going up all over lots of different types of towns in Indiana. We hear a lot about what third wave economic development would look like, and more focused on small businesses, quality of life, and kind of experiential living and hometown type feels. Of course, quality of life, retention, and attraction keeps coming up when we talk about arts and community development. We're seeing more artists as entrepreneurs and as civic leaders across Indiana. And we, of course, if you've been in touch with us at all in the last several years, we care a lot about community engagement, and you all are showing up for that. Community engagement as a mutually beneficial relationship between the arts sector and everyday life of your community, making each other stronger. So like, this is very clear, you guys, I am preaching to the choir, but communities all around Indiana are talking about the arts because they're starting to recognize the power it has for tourism, for making people feel more proud and connected to their community, and that creative events and small businesses mean jobs, mean sales revenue, mean visitors, getting people out and about and civically engaged in their hometown. And so for the past 10 years, the IAC has offered the Indiana Cultural District designation as the primary way we support arts planning and development work. And it's been primarily a recognition of the vision and commitment that each of these communities have already done to weave together arts and community life. And this designation is a very high standard, and the application process is a very heavy lift. This is our most competitive program. Out of the 40 communities that have ever applied to receive cultural district designation, 10 of them have demonstrated that they reach the level of an Indiana cultural district. These communities are leaders in cultural development, and together as a consortium, they are a powerhouse. They inspire and challenge each other and push the whole field forward. It's amazing stuff, we know. But we also know this isn't the only way that arts and communities are thriving together in Indiana. An Indiana Cultural District designation may not fit the goals of your own community. So what are your community goals and dreams? And how can the arts help you get there? This is the question that we care about most. And so let me introduce you to the Creative Community Pathway. Starting with your own goals in mind. This capacity building program puts you on the path to bring the right players to the table, to discover and integrate your community's arts and culture identity and assets, to nurture your creative sector, to intersect with community development and economic development plans and resources, and remain sustainable with local cultural management and planning. So to do that, we've arranged a pathway with resources. This capacity building program is a journey that you can start anytime you want. You can move at your own pace, and you can stop whenever you've gotten what you need to out of it. But we will always provide a next step, the momentum, and the incentive to keep going. If you're pursuing the Indiana Cultural District designation, the Creative Community Pathway is the route to get there. So let us show you around. Step 1 of the Creative Community Pathway is the self-assessment. At the beginning of every journey, you of course take stock of what you have and what you'll need. So together with your team of local partners, we recommend that you use our self-assessment worksheet to articulate your community's arts and cultural identity, your creative people and leaders, your cultural assets, and community plans and goals. This worksheet focuses on the 10 points that will be evaluated at the next phase. If there are any points that you're not confident in at this stage or don't know what they mean, reach out to us. We'll talk you through and help you identify resources to keep you working. And if you feel your community currently meets each of these points listed on this self-assessment, then we encourage you to submit a letter of intent, which is step 2. The letter of intent signals that your community and local creative ecosystem are committed to growing together. The letter of intent is an online form that's going to ask you to address the 10 criteria for arts and cultural identity, leadership, sustainability, economic, and community development that are the same points that you evaluated on step 1, the self-assessment. Then a creative community pathway support team will review and prepare suggestions and next steps for each letter of intent. And this group of people includes artists, community and economic development professionals, tourism folks, and other perspectives that are going to help you continue growing. They'll meet with you for a consult on next steps. The support team may find that your community articulated every one of the criteria points in the LOI, and if so, they're going to recommend that the IAC recognize you, your community, as a spotlight community, which is step 3. A spotlight community is a new special recognition of communities that are really owning their arts and cultural identity. It acknowledges a high level of creative assets and people, and it signals that your community is on the move and has an ongoing relationship with the IAC for support and growth. This recognition could be used to spur local pride, to generate wider attention, or to draw specific focus to your creative opportunity locally, or really anything else that helps your community reach its goals. Communities that have been recognized as a spotlight community are invited to apply for the Indiana Cultural District designation, which is step 4 along this journey. So you may be familiar with the Indiana Cultural District designation. An Indiana Cultural District is a well-recognized, labeled, mixed-use area with unique, authentic arts and cultural identity. And this designation acknowledges an area of a community as a hub for creative activity through its history, structures, activities, organizations, and reputation. It shows that the community embraces arts and culture as assets for tourism, community development, and economic development. And it demonstrates that the community is invested in long-term strategies, planning, resources, and leadership to actively sustain the creative ecosystem and embed the arts and culture sector into community life. So this application is thorough, and it is reviewed and discussed in a public meeting by a panel of experts who are trained to evaluate all 20 criteria for an Indiana Cultural District. These 20 total criteria include the 10 LOI criteria, which you worked through in the self-assessment and LOI stage with the support team. Cultural district applications need to demonstrate that each of these criteria, all 20, currently exist and should also show innovation and leadership in many areas. If a cultural district application meets the review criteria, then the panel will recommend to the IAC that it be designated as an Indiana Cultural District. Indiana Cultural Districts are recognized by the state and are a pivotal opportunity to get your state legislators involved to celebrate and support the arts. Project funding is available for each Indiana Cultural District to keep chipping away at its long-range plan. And step 6, as an Indiana Cultural District, you are part of a statewide group of communities who are pursuing arts and community development at similar intensity. designated districts meet regularly to learn from each other and to work alongside the IAC and lead the field.
So on the creative community pathway, your community at any level of this process is going to make progress on its goals. It's going to connect creatives through collaborations, partnerships, and planning, support and ignite your creative ecosystem, and focus your team on those larger community goals. Get inspired and continue that momentum along with the structure for accountability. Learn about and use national best practices, as well as attract attention through spotlight communities or designations, but also for the great community work that the community is doing. It will inform our work at the Indiana Arts Commission so we can continue to meaningfully support communities and, most importantly, create a more vibrant Indiana for all. Because the cultural district designation, as well as the rest of the pathway, is meant to be a tool for your community's unique aspirations and goals, this isn't the end of the road. It really is to infinity and beyond.
So we know you're really all excited to get started on the creative community pathway, especially after that inspiring charge. So if you are ready to get started, we encourage you to read up online. You'll be able to find more information on our homepage, in.gov/arts. Next, go ahead and assemble your team. You cannot do this alone. This is a big task ahead. And it needs to, of course, be a representative of your entire community and have the right resources and perspectives at the table. Then check out that self-assessment. It can be a great tool, discussion tool, to get the conversation started and to get it started in a way focusing on the things that are going to keep really instigating the next stage of arts-based community development. And we want to know how that kind of discussion and experience went for you and your team. And then if you're ready, go ahead and start the letter of intent, the online form, which will become available very, very soon. Or go ahead and keep working on some of those points in the self-assessment that you felt could use some more attention before you're ready to start the LOI. The letter of intent is due February 27th, 2020, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That online form is due February 27th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And as long as you are signed up for our newsletters, then we'll get the most updated information when that application is available, coming really soon, as well as any other additional opportunities to learn more about how to submit that form or next steps for you. So that was a lot of information. We just walked you through a whole journey in about 20 minutes. And so we'll take some time now to answer any questions that you might have. Please type them in the chat box. And thank you for joining today. Again, my name is Anna. I'm your main contact for the pathway and all the steps on it. And I would love to hear more of your questions and thoughts about how your community might use this kind of a capacity building program for what you need to get done. So you see my contact information on the screen. I've been emailing you this past couple of weeks as well. Don't ever hesitate to reach out, email or phone. If you just need to think out loud with someone about how to get started or what that would be like for you. So again, this is for all communities, no matter where you're at in this process.
Have the 20 criteria changed?
Great question. Have the 20 criteria changed from those used previously? They have been refreshed a little bit after we've learned a lot from existing cultural districts about what it means to manage and thrive in a creative community. They, of course, in the last 10 years, best practices have changed slightly along community development, economic development, and cultural development. And so ultimately, we believe that it's more clear what this designation is looking for with the refreshed criteria, but the major points of things is all very familiar, very much stays the same as what this program has always been. So you can find those criteria on our website, but really this will remain at the heart of what this program's always been supporting.
Ask if it's applications will be ongoing or continuing.
The LOI and cultural district designation applications are accepted every other year. And so this year we are accepting the LOI, and then we'll accept the application later in the year. And that's how we'll continue doing it for now. It's certainly could change as we continue to learn more about how all of you are using it. So please keep that line of communication open. Great. Well, we really enjoyed spending this time with you all during your lunch break. So please, again, we'll hang around for a little bit longer if you continue to have questions, but thank you for joining us today. You should also know that you have a local resource available for grant funding and who are close partners of ours. Your regional arts partners are local community organizations or arts organizations that are working directly with the IAC to grants to local artists and arts organizations, and they are a great source of information. And so if you know your regional arts partner, you should certainly feel free to reach out to them directly and to continue to ask questions, or they'll be able to help you get in touch with us if you're having any trouble. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to your regional arts partner. If you don't know who that is, we'll be happy to point you in the right direction because you should know them. Thanks, everyone. We'll hang around for a few more moments if you have additional questions.